So as many of you know, we have the API series and we are on session 8 of the API series. And in tonight's session, we'll be discussing the CRUD operations on metadata APIs. So before we jump into the technical deep dive, let me walk you through what we'll be covering today. So we've structured this session to reflect how real teams actually approach CRM adoption and customization, starting with setup in the UI and then transitioning into a full API-powered build-out. Today, I am the CEO and super admin of an org, and I lead the initial setup. Anu is a CRM developer, and she is in charge of automation. So she takes my setup and builds out the partner onboarding experience, integrating with external systems, importing legacy data, and automating workflows. So we'll begin with the CRM org setup in the UI. I'll demonstrate how to sign up for a Zoho CRM org, add another user, Anu in this case, assign her the appropriate role and profile so she can configure modules and work with APIs. Once that's done, we move into the foundational setup all via APIs. So this includes defining roles and profiles for internal access control, setting business hours to reflect availability for partner support, specifying the currency, especially useful for global partner deals. After we've laid that foundation, Anu will take over and walk us through the rest of it.
Yes, now this is where the real build begins. We'll create a new module called partner accounts using Zoho CRM APIs and add custom fields that make sense to our use case. We'll also set up data sharing rules to restrict sensitive information. Then we'll simulate a pipeline experience using a picklist wheel because pipeline functionality isn't supported for custom modules yet. Next, we'll focus on data migration. You'll see how we use the bulk rate API to import existing partner data from a legacy system to Zoho CRM and how we can keep CRM in sync by leveraging metadata APIs to dynamically build our UI or integrations without ever hard coding anything. Finally, we'll wrap up with a brief recap of what we have built and learned and show how all of this fits into a repeatable version control process that can scale as the business grows. And then we'll also do a Q&A session to answer any of the queries you may have. So this is our journey from UI to APIs, from setup to sync, and everything in between. Let's get started. Back to you, Shailaja.
Coming to the most basic question, what is metadata? So in CRM systems, metadata isn't the actual deal, lead, or contact. Instead, it defines how those records exist, like what fields they contain, how modules relate to one another, and who can see or update them. So essentially, metadata is data about data. So it is the configuration layer that makes a CRM work the way your business works. And in today's session, that layer is going to be front and center. So in this session, everything that we discuss, from creating a module to setting up field layouts and sharing rules, is going to be driven by metadata. So understanding this layer is what allows us to automate, scale, and evolve a CRM org with confidence. Now, why does metadata matter so much? Why is it so powerful? First, it gives you control. You can define exactly how each module behaves and how teams interact with it, customizability. Second, it scales. So once your metadata structure is defined, it can be replicated across teams, business units, or even regions with just a script. More importantly, metadata is automation ready. Workflow rules, validation logic, assignment rules, all of these depend on a well-structured metadata layer. And because it's accessible via API, we're no longer limited to manual configuration. So you can version control your CRM setup, manage it in CI/CD pipelines, and generate interfaces dynamically. So this is what makes metadata a strategic asset, not just a technical detail. So it's what enables us to build a CRM experience that's flexible, intelligent, and future-proof. Let's start at the very beginning. Since I am setting up this CRM, I went ahead and signed up for a Zoho CRM account at zoho.com/CRM. So the sign up process is quick. You just need to fill up a few details like your name, your email, and a few other basic details. So when you sign up, you'll see something like, it looks like you're in India based on your IP. So based on your IP address, your data center or your domain will be decided. So this is important when you're actually making API calls. We'll discuss that in the upcoming slides. So I did this. I signed up to Zoho CRM, and I have created my org. So let me quickly show you my org. So this is the org that I have created for this presentation, and I have added Anu as a user here. So under setup, general, and users, I just clicked new user, added Anu's first name, last name. I gave her email address, and I added the required role and profile, since she will also be handling APIs. This can be done with an API, but just for this webinar sake, I've used the UI and added her as a user here. So I have given her the role of operations head, and I've assigned the administrator profile. So Anu got the invite and she joined the org.
Yes, Shailaja, I did get the invite, and joining the org was super easy, honestly. A couple of clicks, and I was in just like that. So now both of us are in the same CRM org, even though we are sitting in different cities, and we're going to build everything together step by step using Zoho CRM's powerful metadata APIs.
Yes. So before we start building modules or calling any APIs, there's one essential step we need to get right: authorization. Anu, can you please take us through this?
Yes. Authorization in Zoho CRM, this is handled through the OAuth 2.0 protocol. A simple way to think about OAuth is this: instead of handing someone the keys to your house, you give them a temporary access pass, limited to certain rooms and valid only for a short time. Now, that is pretty much what OAuth does for your application. Here is what it looks like. When the user clicks Login with Zoho button, they'll get redirected to Zoho's login page, where they'll be asked to enter the username and password and login. After logging in, they'll be presented with a consent screen where they grant permission for specific scopes, for example, contacts, deals, metadata, and so on. Once the user grants consent, Zoho redirects the user back to the app with a grant token. Grant token is a short-lived temporary code. Now, this grant token doesn't give your app access to any data by itself. It's simply a temporary pass your app can exchange for an access token. So how do you get this access token? For this, your app now has to make another API call to the authorization server, exchanging the grant token along with the client ID and client secret for two other tokens. These are access token and refresh token. This access token is what is used in API calls to access the user's data. This access token is valid for 1 hour. And after that 1 hour, refresh token lets your app quietly get a new access token without the user having to log in again. Now this refresh token's validity, it stays valid until it is revoked. So now your app has the access token. How can it be used? Where do you use it? When the app makes an API call, it should pass the access token in the request headers as a parent token. Shailaja will show you how to do this when she takes you through the first API call. Now that is it. Your app now has limited secure access to CRM only for what the user has explicitly agreed to. If it tries to access anything outside those scopes, it will get an error response, specifically an OAuth mismatch error. If a team has ever worked with Google or Microsoft logins, this flow will look very familiar to you. This is how Zoho CRM handles authorization. Now, we understand how authorization works, right? How OAuth hands out access tokens. Now, let's talk about how Zoho knows who's requesting them. Before Zoho issues any tokens to any application, that app must be registered in the Zoho's API console. This process is called client registration. It's how we introduce our app to Zoho by providing basic details like client name and authorized redirect URI. Now, once registered, Zoho gives us a client ID and client secret, which identifies our app during the token exchange process. Shailaja, could you please show us how this is done in Zoho's API console?
Yes, Anu. So you can access API console at apiconsole.zoho.com in case you're in the US domain. If you're in the EU domain, it should be apiconsole.zoho.eu. Since I am in the Indian domain, it is apiconsole.zoho.in. So when you initially, when you have no clients, there will be a get started button. When you click that, you'll have different client types. So here, when you register your application, you need to select the type of app that you're building. So there are 5 client types listed here, each designed for a different use case. First is the client-based application. So this is for web apps that run entirely on the browser. There is no backend server and everything happens right in the front end. Then we have the server-based applications. Most of your backend services that run on an HTTP server, like a Node.js app or a Spring Boot service, will fall into this category. If you're calling APIs from your server, then this is your type. Next is mobile-based application. Pretty straightforward, where this is for native Android or iOS apps. And then non-browser applications. So think of devices like smart TVs, embedded systems, or desktop software. Basically, apps that aren't running on a web browser or on a phone. And finally, self-client. Let's say you have a cron job or a backend service that doesn't need any user intervention, or apps with no UI or a redirect URI. In these cases, self-client is the one that you should go for. It's also super handy for manual testing. So that's what we'll be using today, just to keep things simple for the webinar. So I have already set up a self-client. So once I create my client, excuse me. So once I create my client, you'll see two tabs here. One is the generate code tab and the other one is the client secret tab. So the client ID and client secret are the parameters that identify your app in Zoho. So with these parameters, Zoho identifies your app, and after that, the OAuth protocol flow happens where your app exchanges the grant token for access and refresh tokens, and then you start making API calls. So we'll spin up a self client. So we have a self client, and then let's see how we can get the tokens that Anu discussed using the OAuth 2.0 flow. So first off, we have to set up our collection. So moving to Postman here, many of you might be using Postman. Postman is a very popular tool to test HTTP requests, or more specifically API calls. So in Postman, we have our REST API collection. When you just search Postman for Zoho CRM developers, you'll have our collection. And once you fork our collection, you'll have folders something like this. So we have different folders for different API versions from V2 to V8. And then we also have a specific folder for the OAuth protocol flow. Before we start making API calls or generate tokens, let's set up our environment. So for today's webinar, I have set up my environment already here. So this environment has variables. As many of you know, variables are placeholders and they're great for reusability. So I have these variables here. So we need the client ID, client secret, accounts URL, API domain, access token, refresh token, expiry time. So the client ID and client secret you get from the API console. So I have pasted my client ID and client secret here. And accounts URL is what your application will be making calls to in order to generate the grant token or exchange the grant token for an access and refresh token. So again, this accounts URL is again DC specific. Since mine is in the India domain, my accounts URL is accounts.zoho.in. In case yours is the US domain, then it would be accounts.zoho.com, and so on for other DCs. So I have the variables set up here, the variables that I have right now. So I have saved my environment variables. Now coming to the collection here, now we have to generate access tokens, because access tokens are what help us authorize every API call. So here in the request, you can see that to make this request, we need the client ID, client secret, code, and grant type. So this code is the grant token. So for self-client, you can generate the grant token directly from the API console. So as many of you know, all tokens are scoped. For example, if my app wants to access or read only contacts data from Zoho CRM, then I have to get scope only to perform that operation. So my scope essentially would be Zoho CRM modules.contacts.read. So for tonight's series, in our official API documentation, we have a page called OAuth scopes. So for this, as the super admin of the org, I want to be, able to perform all operations related to my org. I also need access to my settings, which is essentially my metadata, and I want to be able to add, delete, create, update users. So as the CRM admin, these are the scopes that I need. So I'm copying them here And then coming to my API console, I paste the required scopes here. And then I choose the time duration here. So if you are using a server-based application or an application that has the redirect flow, I mean, where you redirect your users to, another place, then this grant token is valid for only 1 minute. Whereas if you are using self-client, you have the option to choose the duration or the expiry time of the grant token. So here I have chosen 10 minutes, which means the grant token that I'm going to generate is valid only for 10 minutes, within which I have to generate the access and refresh tokens using this grant token. So I am giving a scope description and I am creating the grant token. So again, every token is environment specific. So I have chosen the required org. So I have the grant token here. So coming to Postman, I'm posting my grant token here and I'm hitting send. So I have a 200 success response. I have the access token, refresh token. I have these tokens for these scopes, and then I have the API domain. So I have to make all API calls to this domain. I have the token type, which is bearer for the access token, and then expires in 3600 seconds, which means the access token is valid for an hour. So after my access token expires, I have to use this refresh token and use this refresh access token request to make the to generate new access tokens. So as you can see, we have the required variables here. Now, if you fork our collection, you have something called a piece of script under the scripts tab. So this script automatically passes the response and then populates the values for these variables in my environment. So when you I just generated the refresh token here. And when I use this, you can see that all the variables are populated. So the refresh token is also populated because of the script. So this is about setting up the collection. So we forked the official Postman collection. We've set up our environment with the required variables. And then we've authenticated using the OAuth 2.0 grant token flow. So next, all there's left to do is start testing endpoints with just a click.
Honestly, Shailaja, this Postman collections make life so much easier, right? I don't have to go and check documentation for every little thing or ping someone asking for a sample input. It's all right there, ready to go. All I have to do is fork the collection like you just did, set up the environment and start making API calls. There is no guesswork, there is no wasted time. Everything is just so easy there with this Postman collection.
Absolutely, Anu. I just couldn't agree more. Let me take a moment to introduce the use case that we're going to walk through, something we're building for real in our CRM. So we're launching a partner onboarding system that is designed to help us work with resellers, distributors, and affiliates across different regions. We want to set up the entire backend for this using APIs, like defining the right roles, adding new profiles for partner-facing teams, creating new modules to track partner accounts, adding the necessary fields to the module, configuring data sharing rules to control visibility, and simulating a pipeline using just a pick list. Like Anu said, since pipeline is only specific to deals module, we'll be using a pick list field here to simulate a pipeline. Finally, we'll bulk import partner data from an existing system using the bulk write API. So this entire setup from structure to data will be built programmatically using Zoho CRM's metadata APIs. As the CEO and super admin, I am responsible for the overall governance, security, and org-wide structure. I also focus on repeatable setup, compliance, and scaling, whereas Anu is the CRM admin slash developer who executes technical implementation, manages module configuration, bulk operation, and sync with legacy systems. Now, you might ask, when I am the super admin of the org, why bother using APIs when I could just click through the UI, right? So setting up in the UI is fine until it is a one-time setup. But as the business grows, say I need to add a new vertical like training affiliates, resellers, or implementation partners, I don't want to recreate the roles or profiles multiple times. It is just too many manual clicks. Whereas if I use APIs, I achieve number one, repeatability, where I can clone the setup for another team instantly via a script. Verifiability, I can get the JSON verified for compliance from an auditor. Scalability, I can plug this setup into the onboarding pipeline using ZDK CLI without any additional effort and have JSON-based configurations that can be easily version controlled and automated as part of a CI/CD pipeline. And not just that, once the org level setup is done, I can hand over the rest like module customization and data import to Anu. So technically, Anu is building and running her own partner onboarding process, but inside the CRM org that I set up. Hence, she registers her app separately as a client and uses her tokens to make API calls. So think of it as two apps working in the same CRM org. I own the setup pipeline, Anu owns the automation layer. So APIs give us that clean separation and flexibility. Now that Anu and I are part of the same org, let's begin with adding various roles as part of our partner onboarding. So in Zoho CRM, roles determine who can see what. So they create the visibility structure for your records and also create hierarchical reporting structure. So before anything else, I need to define the roles that reflect our business hierarchy. So, sorry. So in my CRM org, you can see that I have CEO, which is myself, and I have added Anu as the operations head. Now let's see how we can use metadata APIs to add different roles that suit our use case. So coming to Postman again, under V8, metadata APIs, security control. So if you see the folder structure of our Postman collection, you can see that it is mimicking the folder structure that is there in the UI. So we have under security control, we have profiles, roles, etc. Similarly, even in our metadata APIs, under security control, we have roles, profiles, etc. So I have to now add roles. So I use the create role API here. And this is the endpoint. And under authorization, I have chosen the auth type as bearer token and have used the access token variable here. So if you use our collection, all of this input JSON is already part of the package. So you just have to replace the values to these keys. Now I am creating a partner manager profile who reports to the operations head. And I have a brief description, and I also have the Boolean key to share the data with peers. So I need to have the operations head role ID. So how do I get that? I use a simple get roles API call. So when I hit send, you can see that I have the CEO and operations head role. So I copy the ID of the operations head and paste it here. So, and then I hit send and I have a 201 created response. So this is the role of the partner manager that I just created. Now, I also have finance and sales teams that will be accessing the org. So I need different roles for each of them. So here I have a sample input to create another role. If you see here, I've just copy pasted this, and instead of reporting to operations head, I have to add the partner manager role ID that I just created. So this is just a copy paste of the input. So here I'm going to paste the partner manager profile that I just created. So when I hit send, I have a success response where I have added a role for finance. And then I have another input here to create the sales role. So again, the sales role also reports to partner manager. So I hit send and I have the roles created here. So let me see the UI. I'll just do a hard refresh. So initially we had the CEO and operations head roles, and now we have partner manager, finance and sales roles added via APIs. So roles are used to define data visibility and create hierarchical reporting structure in your org. Moving on to profiles. Once roles are defined, the next step is setting up profiles to manage user actions. Say what modules they can access, what operations they're allowed to perform. So in our case, I want to create a custom profile called Partner Manager Profile. So this profile allows basic CRUD operations in the partner module, but restricts access to sensitive areas like finance or admin modules or say contacts. You can do all this with a simple post call to the profiles API. Let me show you how. So moving on to Postman, again under metadata APIs, security control, I have the profile here. Now, even in the UI, you cannot directly create a profile. You have to clone an existing profile and then make changes to the profile that you just added. So here I want to create the partner manager profile and I want to clone it from the standard profile. So for that, I need to know what profiles exist in my org. So I'm using the get profiles API. So when I do that, I have the administrator and standard profiles here. So I want to clone the standard profile for my partner manager profile. So I'm going to give the standard profiles ID here, and then I have a name and description for the partner manager. Now we have a success response. I have successfully created a profile for partner manager. Now the standard profile has access to a lot of the modules, let's say. So this is the standard profile. Let's get this specific profile and see what permissions they have. So when I search for CRM implied you can see that this profile has view access to leads, create access to leads, edit access to leads, delete access to leads, and so on. Now, I don't want my partner manager profile to have access to contacts module. So I have to disable the different permissions that the standard profile has for my partner manager profile. So the view profile I have here. So I will be using the update profile permission API here. So I want to update my partner manager profile that I just created. So I'm giving my profile ID here. And then in your input JSON, you can see we have the permission details array. So here I have to give the IDs of the permissions that I want to disable for my profile. So I want to copy these IDs here. So this is for the view permission to contacts module. This is for the create permission. This is for the edit permission. And the other one is for delete permission. So the enabled key is false, which means I am restricting my partner manager profile from having access to the CRUD operations on the contacts module. So I am hitting send here and I have a success response. So my partner manager profile is now created and it does not have access to perform CRUD operations on the contacts module. So this is about profiles.
And Shailaja, because you're doing this using APIs, it's easy to replicate the same profile setup across multiple orgs, right? Like when different partner companies use the same CRM structure, there is no need to manually recreate everything each time. Isn't that great?
Yes, no, absolutely.
Before jumping into modules and layouts, there are two foundational things that we want to get right. That is business hours and currency. We are onboarding partners across time zones, across the globe. We want to configure our support hours in the CRM, especially since workflows and escalation rules rely on this. Automation in CRM, like assignment rules and escalations, runs in sync with the business hours. So let's create a custom schedule for our working days. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 for a few days, 9:30 to 5:30 for a few days. This ensures workflows won't trigger outside office hours and tasks won't be assigned when no one is available, right?
Absolutely, Anu. So using the business hours API, we can define our daily schedule and name it, say, standard hours. We can also set multiple time blocks per day or define weekend shifts if needed. So this configuration becomes foundational when setting SLAs or triggering time-sensitive workflows. So coming to our Postman collection again. So we have our business hours under metadata, company settings, business hours. So I'm going to add business hours to my org now. So we have the input JSON already here. So my business days are from Monday through Friday, and then my week starts on Monday. Now I'm going to have a custom timing for every day. So my type is set to custom, and my timing is not the same as every day. So the value to this Boolean key is false. So as you can see here under custom timing array, I have a JSON object for each day of the week. So for Monday, the business timing is between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. For Tuesday, it is 10:30 to 5 p.m. And so on for the rest of the days. So I have my input here. And then when I click send, I have the business hours created. Now, this is how you can use the business hours API to set your business hours for your organization. Let's take a quick look at currencies in Zoho CRM. So when you first create your CRM org, you have to set your base currency or your home currency. So for us, it is going to be INR because I am in India. This base currency becomes the reference for all monetary values inside CRM, whether you're creating quotes, calculating deal revenue, or tracking partner commissions. But what if you're working with partners globally? You'll want to view their deal values, invoices, or onboarding costs in their local currencies, say euros, pounds, or US dollars, while still reporting everything back in a consistent currency. Now, Zoho CRM lets you enable multi-currency, where we can add currencies like euro, US dollars, etc., set the conversion rates, and even choose a formatting style, like whether decimals or currency symbols appear before or after the number. And of course, this isn't just a UI setting. All this can be fetched programmatically via the currency API. So if Anu's app needs to display the partner's currency or validate revenue fields, she can query the currency input dynamically. There is no hard coding. So let's go to our currencies API. Again, we have it under company settings, currencies. I have to first add my home currency here. So I'm going to use the enable multi-currency API here. And you can see I have the name of my currency as Indian rupee INR. I have the ISO code, the exchange rate, and the format for decimal separator, thousand separator, and the number of decimal places. So when I hit send, I have set up my business hours. So I have set my, I have set my home currency here. Now I want to add another currency to my org. So I use the add currencies API here. I use the input here. So I am adding US dollars, USD. I have the ISO code, I have the exchange rate, and again format. So when I actually add a currency, there is an option to automatically or simultaneously activate it also. So this is using the Boolean key is active. So I want to activate the key as the currency as soon as I add it. So right now my org has Indian rupee as the base currency and US dollar as one of the multi currencies. So this is how you can use your currencies API to add multi currencies to your org. So far, we've laid the foundation. We've signed up for Zoho CRM, added users, defined roles and profiles. So we've added users, defined roles and profiles, set up business hours, and configured currencies. All of this sets the stage for what's coming next. Now, it's time to build the actual structure of a CRM, say the modules, fields, layouts, sharing rules, the very heart of what our teams will use daily. And we're going to do it all programmatically using metadata APIs again. So to walk us through this, I'm going to hand things over to Anu. So let's see her bring this architecture to life. Anu, over to you.
Thank you, Shailaja. Thank you so much. All right. Now that we have laid all that groundwork, let's go on and customize our CRM the way we want it. I'm sharing my screen. I hope it's visible to everyone. All right. So our use case needs a dedicated space to track our B2B partners, our resellers, distributors, affiliates. And this doesn't really fit into the standard modules like deals or leads. Sure, we could try to repurpose them, but it just won't feel right? So instead, let's create a fresh custom module, one that's designed exactly for what we need. And let's call it partner accounts. Let's just quickly go to Postman. So as Shailaja has explained, I have also forked the Postman collection and set up my environment variables here. And you saw how we are both part of the same CRM org. I have also created a client and generated the access and refresh tokens here. And we are ready to go. Now, whatever updates I do to this org, it will be reflected at Shailaja's end too. Let's now go find the create module API. You can find it under V8 metadata customization module metadata, and here we have the create module API. All right. We're going to create a custom module called partner accounts. This is where we'll track all our resellers, affiliates, distributors, basically all our B2B partners. So in this request body, I'm giving it a plural label, partner accounts, singular label, partner account, and I'm also setting up an API name, partner underscore accounts. Now here is a very important bit to that. We're also specifying profiles here. So these profile IDs decide who can access this module. In our case, I want to give administrator profile and the partner manager profile access to this module. This partner manager profile is the one that Shailaja created earlier. Where can you find these IDs? You can find these IDs from Metadata APIs. Security control, under profiles API, you have the get profiles API. So let's quickly make an API call. All right. So I have a 401 unauthorized error, an invalid token error. This is because you remember how when we talked about OAuth 2.0 protocol, we said an access token is valid for 1 hour, right? So it looks like it has been more than an hour since I generated my access token. So now I have to go and generate a refresh token. So for that, I have to make another API call to the authorization server with these details, the client ID, client secret, refresh token, and the grant type as refresh token. So this tells the authorization server that I want an access token using this refresh token that I'm sending you. So let's again make this call, and I have the access token here. This access token again is valid for 1 hour. Now the script that Shailaja showed you earlier, it has taken care of parsing and copying that data into my environment variable, so I don't have to do anything there. Let's go on and do this. Now, we have 3 profiles in our org, the administrator profile, the standard profile, and the product manager profile. And like I said earlier, I want the admin profile ID. And I also want the partner manager profile ID. So let's quickly copy that too. This is the partner manager profile ID. So again, we have all the details that we need. Let's make this API call, and just like that, we have created a new module here. You can verify it using the UI or the API. You can use the get module metadata API and verify this. Instead of leads, I want partner underscore accounts. This is the API name that we set for the module when we created the module. Now this is the module that we just created. Now if you go to the UI, this is the org that Shailaja added me to. Let me quickly do a hard refresh. Here is the partner accounts module that we just created. I can show this. I can show you how this looks like, what modules, what fields it has. Here is the partner account module. This is in the standard module again, and this is the module that we just created.
All right. Anu, if you think about scaling, say across multiple regions or subsidiaries, this is just gold. You could replicate module setups across the sandbox and production or across different territories without any manual clicks.
Yes, Shailaja, you're absolutely right. In fact, it is one of the best parts of working with metadata APIs. It's not just about creating a module once, it's about making that step repeatable and reliable. Moving on. We now have a home for our partners, our partner accounts module that we just created using our metadata API. What is the next step? We need to define what information we want to capture in this module. What are the fields that define a partner in our world? We'll do this using the fields metadata API. Let's again go back to Postman. And you can find the fields metadata under metadata customization. We have the fields metadata here. So this is the endpoint. Endpoint is /settings/fields, and we have a module parameter. This parameter tells the system which module I want to add these fields to. So I have added partner accounts module here, and let's add the fields that we need. Now, what fields do you want? Let's think like a business team for a second. What kind of details would we need for each partner? If we start simple there, we want to know what type of partner they are, right? So I'm going to add a pick list field here called partner type. The options I've given are reseller, distributor, and affiliate. Now, anytime you want, you can go back and update these pick list values using our APIs again. Now, let's also add few other fields that make sense to our use case. I have added a status field here, which is again another pick list field, an annual revenue field, which is a currency field, an onboarding date field, which is a date field, and a region field, which is again another pick list field. Now, when we create fields, there is one other detail that we need. See these profiles array? This determines who has permission to view or edit these particular fields. So I want to give again the access to admin profile and partner manager profile. Let's go back to the profiles API we made earlier. I have the admin profile ID here. So I'm copying this ID. But if you look here, I have to copy this ID in 5 different places because I'm creating 5 different modules. So instead of doing multiple copy pastes, I can simply add these as the environment variables. For example, I have set my environment variable here. I'll give my profile admin profile ID here. Similarly, let's also find the partner manager profile and give the partner manager profile here, profile ID here. So I have the admin profile ID and I have also given the partner manager profile ID. So coming back, I have everything that I need. I have the admin profile ID, partner manager profile ID. I have added specific information for each field, the pick list values for the pick list field, and I have all the details. Okay, so let's make this API call. Now, here is a quick tip for you. If you are trying this out yourself or if you're testing out anything in Postman, always put things like, profile IDs, org ID, module names, etc., your tokens, etc., into Postman environment variables. It keeps your request clean like this one and makes them reusable. And if your values change, say you are working in one org and you want to use it for another org, or you're working in a sandbox environment or you're moving to production, you only have to update them in one place, that is the environment variable. You don't have to update in multiple places. And trust me, this saves you a ton of time during testing. Now coming back, this is the response that we have, which means our fields are created. Now let's again go back to the UI. This is how our module looked earlier. Let's do a hard refresh and see. Now, we have added the partner type, annual revenue, region status, and onboarding date fields. These are the 5 custom fields that we just added. You can also verify this using get fields metadata API. Let's skip that because we have time constraints today.
And this makes it super easy to scale. Say tomorrow, if another team wants to spin up the same module in a different environment, it's just a script away. There's no need to manually add fields one by one. And for teams doing migrations from legacy systems, this step is a lifesaver. You can recreate your field structure one-to-one in Zoho CRM with just a script.
Yes, Shailaja, absolutely right. Couldn't agree more with that one. Now, our module is set up and we've got our fields in place. Let's talk about the next important part, which is who gets to see what. Because at the end of the day, we all know data is very powerful and sensitive. Let's take our use case. In our CRM, the partner managers own the partner records. They are the ones actively managing these partner records. But there may be other teams that still need access to these records, right? For example, finance team still needs to see these records for things like payment processing, contract renewals, etc. But then they shouldn't be able to edit anything. And then we have sales team who work closely with partners during onboarding or deal cycles. They'll need the full create and edit access to these modules and fields. So let's set up 2 sharing rules. First, giving sales full access. That is, they should be able to create, view, and edit partner records, and then give finance read-only access. They can view records, but they shouldn't make any changes. Now, how do we do that using APIs? This is where the data sharing rules APIs come in. It lets you define exactly what you're talking about, which module is being shared. Partner accounts in our case, who's sharing the data? Partner managers, because they own the records. Who's receiving it? The sales or the finance team in our use case, and what level of permission they should have, whether it is full access, read-only, or something in between. And it's not a one-time thing. Imagine your company grows and you have 3 new departments coming in tomorrow, legal, compliance, or maybe a partner support team. You don't want to go and do these clicks in the UI every time you're onboarding a new team. With the API, it's just a repeatable script, super easy to reuse and automate. All right, now let's jump back to Postman and set this up. You can find data sharing rules under metadata APIs, security control, and we have the data sharing rules here. So, all right. So this is the data sharing rules payload. And if you look at the input JSON, you can see this is exactly what we talked about. It says what data is being shared, or who is sharing the data, who it is being shared to, and who it is being shared to, and what type of permission we are giving that person or role. And as you can see here, we'll also need the role IDs of the sales and finance and partner manager roles that Shailaja created earlier. So where do we get this from? You can get this from using the get roles API. I have the get roles API here. Let's make another quick API call and get those roles. So these are the roles that are configured in our org. I have the CEO role, operations head role, finance, partner manager, and sales role. This is the ones that we're looking for. So let's get the, let's again go back to data sharing rules. I need the sales role and the partner manager role here. So get roles is the sales role ID. Let's also get the partner manager role ID. I have the partner manager role here. Now this role is required for both sales and finance because we are sharing the same module and the same data from partner managers. So let's do that here. And we also need the finance role ID. So I have it here, finance. So let me quickly copy that, paste that here. So we are all done. Since data sharing rule APIs lets you configure one rule per API call, I have first configured it for the sales team. As we discussed earlier, sales team will have read, write, and delete access. So this we have set up. Let's configure the second rule now for finance role. All right, so with this, we have, with these two simple API calls, we have secured our data across departments. And like we said earlier, this is a repeatable process. Anytime you need to share data across teams, it's just one API call away for you.
And no, this is also great for CI/CD use cases. Every environment, say sandbox, dev, or production, can have predictable automated sharing behavior. There's no room for human error here.
No, that is so true, Shailaja. What you said is very true. Now, coming back, now you have got the fields, the module, the fields, the data sharing sorted. Let's take a moment to think about how the data is displayed to users. Because no matter how much data you collect, if your layout is cluttered, users are going to struggle. Now, this is where the layout rules APIs really help. With these APIs, we can rearrange fields into clear logical sections like partner info, financial details, or onboarding progress in our case, so that CRM screen matches how your teams actually work in real life. Now, just a quick note on this one. For standard layouts, it cannot be modified through the API. But if you're working with custom layouts, you can customize how the fields appear. You can create new sections, new fields, update existing sections, fields, delete sections, etc., all using APIs. That means that your CRM stays clean and intuitive as your business grows. And while we are not doing a live demo for this one, because you saw how partner accounts is still using the standard layout, right? So, but I did want to quickly show you what this API looks like in Postman. So let's find our layouts API. It's again under customization, layouts, metadata. I have update custom layout here. So like we discussed earlier, It helps. It lets you define the section structure, add or remove fields, move fields to unused items, add uh, sections, etc. All using this. Now, if you're building your own custom layouts, this API is a great tool to automate and standardize your user experience.
And no, also let's not forget that layout changes affect everyone using the module. So by standardizing this step in code, you ensure the whole team has the same experience.
Totally agree. It's one of those small things that quietly keeps everyone and everything running smooth, right? Coming back. Now, if this were the deals module that we're talking about, we'd be looking at this a little differently. We could use the pipelines API to define all the stages in our partner onboarding cycle. Things like verification, verified, onboarded, active, dormant, etc. And we can also visualize the deal flow right inside the CRM. Now, let me just show you how our pipeline APIs look like. Pipeline APIs you can find under metadata, process automation. Here is where we have grouped all our automation APIs, and here is a pipeline API. So using this, you can create multiple pipelines, define the stages, assign them sequence numbers, and even update or reorder them later using the update pipeline API. This is super helpful when different sales teams follow different processes, like one team working on partnerships, another on enterprise sales, and so on, each with their own pipeline. But in our case, we are not dealing with deals module. We built a custom module called partner accounts, right? And for partner accounts module, we don't have built-in pipelines. So what do? We can simulate pipeline stages using our status field. Remember the status field that we created earlier when we created when we were testing out the create custom fields API. This is right here. Let's see what it has. So we have added the fields like active, dormant, onboarded, prospect, suspended, etc. You could actually build your entire partner journey around this field. For example, when a partner record is created, you mark it as a prospect. When an onboarding date is added, change it to onboarded. If they've been active recently, mark it active. If they haven't logged in for a while, or if they haven't been active, if there is no activity for the past 90 days, mark them dormant. And now if they need to be paused for some reason, mark them as suspended. And the best part of this is that you don't need to do this manually every time there is a change, or every time you need to update this. You don't have to do it manually. You can automate this using our developer tools. For example, you can use our workflow rules to change status when certain conditions are met. You can use schedule functions and custom functions for a more complex logic, depending on your business requirements. It's not quite the same as a visual pipeline, but functionally, it gives you the same stage progression and reporting flexibility as a pipeline. Now, coming back. Let's switch gears for a minute. So far, we've been setting up our CRM from scratch. But what if your business is migrating from a legacy system? You've already got thousands of partner records in an all CRM or a spreadsheet. How would we bring these into Zoho CRM? Now, this is a very common scenario. If we have a few hundred records, you can use the Create Records API. Or if you have more, if you have huge records in your legacy system, you should use the bulk insert API. Bulk insert API is built for things like this, these large scale imports, scheduled sync jobs, migrations, etc. It's asynchronous. So once you trigger the import, CRM processes it in the background. You don't have to wait. Now, I am not going to demonstrate this for you because we have already crossed 1 hour here, but I'll quickly take you through what is required for this API. Now, the first step in the bulk write API is to upload your CSV file, your data. Your data should be in a CSV file, and this CSV file should be zipped before you upload to Zoho CRM. Now, here is a sample CSV file that I've created. As you can see, I have quite a few records here with these fields. I have their name, email, secondary email, phone. I also have some fields that I may not need in my current system. I have the agreement terms, I have the email opt-out. These are fields that I have not configured for my module yet. Now, before when I look at this data, I will get an idea of what data I have from the legacy system. But how do I know what data I can upload to my CRM? I can upload to my module. For this, I need to know the structure of my partner accounts module in my org. Now, how do I do that? For that, you can use the get field metadata API. The field metadata API gives you a blueprint of what your fields in the module look like. For example, let's take this is the partner accounts module that we're talking about. So as you can see, this gives the details, all the details pertaining to that field in my module. For example, it tells me what if it is a field read-only field, what is the ID, if it is a multi-module lookup, if it is a multi-module lookup, what are the details. Now, what are the profiles that has access to the field? If it is a pick list field, what are the pick list values that are configured for the field, etc. It also gives you all the details. It tells you whether it is a unique value, whether it is a mandatory field, etc. So before you attempt to import any data, whether using create records API or bulk import, always make a quick API call to this get fields metadata API. It gives you a blueprint of what it looks like. So this is the sample file I have created. The first step in bulk, right, is to import this file to Zoho CRM. And when you upload the file, you have few additional information that you have to give here. Here is the org ID, and this here is a feature with the value bulk, right? Now the org ID tells the system which org I'm adding this file for. And once you've uploaded the file, you get a file ID. And with that file ID, you can initiate a bulk write job. Now, when you go to bulk write job, this is pretty straightforward. I am specifying what kind of operation I want here, whether it is an insert operation, an update operation, or an upsert operation. I'm also telling the system which module I want to upload this data to, and this is the file ID that we'll get from the response of upload file API. Now, here is the important bit, the field mappings. This tells the system where to put this data. For example, if you look at this CSV file, I have the name at index 0. So this is how I do it. In the field with API name, put the data from index 0. Similarly, in the field with API name email, put the data from index 1. So I'm mapping the data that I need from this CSV. I need to map only the ones that I need. I can skip the ones that I don't want. Just make sure to follow the right indexing. Now, like I said earlier, I've fetched all these API names using the get fields metadata API. Now, once I make this API call, I'll get a job ID. So you can either use this get job details API to get the response, get the status of the bulk write job that you just initiated. That is one way to do it. Or you can also configure a callback URL here. Now, there are two ways to get the status, right? Polling and callback. Polling using this API and callback using this callback URL. When to use what? This depends on what your application architecture is. Use polling if your app needs to wait for the job to complete before continuing. And use callback URL if your app is event-driven. That is, CRM can notify your system automatically when the job completes using this callback URL that you have set. So choose what fits your architecture. Both are valid options. We will not be doing a demonstration of this today, but I hope you have understood what this is. Now, Importing your partner data is just the beginning, right? In the real world, partner records are constantly evolving. A status get updated, a contact details might get added, or sometimes the records may even get deleted. So, how do you keep track of these things in real time without constantly polling the CRM? That's where the notification API comes in. You can think of it as subscribing to events in CRM. For example, if you want to get notified whenever a new record is created in partner accounts module, or whenever a record is marked dormant, all you need to do is set up a notification channel. You can do this using our notifications API. Again, I'll quickly show you our notification API in our Postman collection. You can find it under Metadata APIs, notification API. Metadata. Sorry, you can find it under V8 notification APIs. Here is post notification. Okay. All you need is to set up a channel ID, the module, the events you want to listen to, whether it is create event or edit or delete event, and your notify URL. So once this is configured, Zoho CRM will automatically send a post request to your endpoint with the record data whenever the events that you have subscribed for occur. Now, since today's focus is on metadata APIs, we won't be demonstrating the notifications API live for you, but we highly recommend checking it out, especially if you're building an integration with a legacy system, or you want to sync CRM data in real time, or you simply want to keep an external application in step with your CRM activity. In fact, we have covered this in depth in one of our earlier sessions. Also, I hope most of you are familiar with our developer series or Kaizen series. That's a great Kaizen post that shows you how you can use bulk read and notification APIs together to enable near real-time sync between Zoho CRM and external systems. We'll drop these links in the chat for you. Please check them out if you're planning a sync or integration workflow. All right, that brings us to the end of our walkthrough. Shailaja, over to you for a quick recap of everything we've covered today and what's coming up next.
Thank you, Anu. That was really insightful. So let's take a moment to look back at what we've built together today. So we kick things off right from the Zoho CRM UI, where we signed up for a new CRM org and got the initial setup in place. Once the foundation was set, everything else, like creating roles and profiles, configuring business hours and currency, designing custom modules, adding fields, rearranging layout, importing data in bulk, etc., was fully automated using Zoho CRM APIs. Now, the goal was to show you how you can gradually move from manual configuration to a more automated API-driven approach. Now, with these APIs, your setup becomes consistent and repeatable, whether you're onboarding new teams, replicating configurations across orgs, or integrating with other systems. And it also allows other systems like custom apps or integrations to stay aligned with the CRM structure without manual intervention. So we hope this gave you a clear picture of how metadata APIs fit into everyday CRM setup and management tasks and how they can help simplify and speed up your work. So if you have any questions, please let us know. I've dropped the relevant links in the chat box. Please make sure to check them out.